We live in a world ruled by tyranny, where knowledge is suppressed and ignorance is glorified. A world where propaganda and misinformation travel the airways at the speed of lies. But in the midst of the violence and chaos, a great awakening is taking place. And as the media empires continue to collapse, a new network is forming. A network of truth, a network of courage, a network of awareness. Peace and greetings. You are now tuned into the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, where we examine current events, politics, health, finance, and topics of cultural relevance in America and throughout the world, while bringing you insightful interviews with guests that will both educate and inspire you. And now, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, Aura the Informationalist.
Please just tell me what's happening to me in plain English without the mumbo jumbo.
My aura is a network full of awareness and gifts like Aura, the informationalist.
How you doing?
Yes. Peace and greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world. You're now tuned in to a live broadcast of the Network of Awareness. I'm your host, owner, and founder of the Network of Awareness. And today we got a live broadcast about an installment in the Narcissism Series. And I got a guest co-host today, and she's no stranger. She was just on the show last week. We got the medium, intuitive coach, Scarlet Loretta, on the show today. We'll be bringing her in just a moment. As you can see, she's here already. And we're going to discuss how narcissism is tied to the dark spirit realm of Satan and his minions, aka demons, and psychic vampires. Psychic vampires being the people that are demonically possessed, and how they like to suck the life force and energy out of you and keep you in disarray. And as you can see in the description box, for those that are going to be reading it, you're going to see how we're going to go over all these things just to give a brief overview of what we're going to discuss here today. We're going to discuss when the devil can get to you, he sends a narcissist. This type of spirit comes to lie, steal, and destroy. 3 types of narcissists according to psychology, which is the main ones. These are the coverts, the overts, the malignant. And the basic one that's the standard is the grandiose. Now, why do narcissists mess with your mind so much? We're also going to talk about demonic spirits drive narcissists. They work through them, through the psychic vampirism. What's that demonic goal, and what are they looking to achieve? Narcissists are the demon's Trojan Horse. And by the way, these are all Scarlet's notes, by the way. These are great notes. The other thing is, why would Satan do this? They want to jam up your receiving station from the Most High God. Keep you on the exhausting, emotional roller coaster ride. I know this all too well. Trap you in a toxic mental spiral. Deceive you into believing that as a Christian, as a man or woman of the Most High, that you're supposed to be responsible for improving their life or help them to heal. We're going to go over 8 common spirits behind narcissism, the spirit of witchcraft, voodoo, dark arts, the spirit of envy, the spirit of confusion, the spirit of condemnation and criticism, the spirit of control, often through sex, the spirit of deception, lying, the spirit of pride, and the spirit of fear. What do you do if you encounter a narcissist? Well, we're going to get right into it. And also, if you have a narcissist within your close circles, which most of the time you do, brothers and sisters. So welcome to the Network of Awareness podcast, radio station, broadcasting live from St. Petersburg, Florida. Let's get into it, shall we? All right. Peace and greetings. And Most High Christ bless you. Scarlet, how you doing today?
Hi there. How you doing?
I'm doing
good to be here. Good to see you again.
Likewise. And I wish I would have promoted this, but things have been so hectic with me taking this, this trip that I'm going to be taking that I'm very much looking forward to, and being pretty much bombarded with a lot of work. So I do apologize for that, because I wanted to promote this. But the fact of the matter is, this is going to be for everybody to listen to whenever. This is broadcasting live. So for those that are listening, those that don't get to listen, when you download, this is actually broadcasted on Spreaker. So it goes to all the major podcasting platforms around the world for you to listen to it on audio. If you want to watch this on video, it's on Network of Awareness, which is Aura_Noah on Twitter, Aura the Informationalist on YouTube, and Aura or Network of Awareness, and on my Facebook page, which is Reggie Rivera. And tune in if you get a chance. So this is kind of like, some people are working right now, some people are on lunch, some people are going to get to come in and probably come in after the fact, but it's all good. So let's get right into it. You did some research about narcissism. Right?
I did. And before we get into it, I just want to rewind a little bit. You and I are going to get these, these negative entities and demons and whatever it is that we want to label them. We're going to get them a little annoyed, with the work that you and I are doing. So I'm not surprised that you did not have an opportunity to advertise it, because remember what they do. They're very, very good at distraction. They don't want us to get this message out. But you and I have already made this pact that we're going to keep it going, no matter how much they poke and prod at us, how much they distract us. We're going to continue with this path. So We're just going to roll with it. So no worries that you didn't get a chance to advertise this. It's all perfect at the end.
Yeah. And I agree with you, because I have been distracted, in more ways than one. So the attacks are coming to me, and I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I overcome the attacks and sometimes I don't. Sometimes that adversity weighs on me. And because we're in these cardinal bodies, I do, like, I don't know how to explain it, but I fall victim to being their prey. All right. Yes. So I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. I'm trying my best. Normal.
And you know what? I'm so glad that you're sharing that, because I'm sure you've just inspired a whole bunch of people, because we have this notion that we're supposed to be on this path and stick to this path. But I love that analogy of the tightrope that we were talking about the last time. And I can't get it out of my head, because that's exactly what they're doing to us. We're constantly walking this tightrope, and they're constantly throwing stuff at us or distracting us. And they'll get pretty loud, and that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. They recently distracted me while I was on the tightrope just yesterday. So, and it happens, and they do it. This Satan is so clever in the deception, because like I have a brother named Kakam who says Satan's a good liar, but he's a master deceiver. He's the best deceiver of all time. And it's just interesting when you go out into this world, how Satan will throw things into your path to distract you. And he does it in a multitude of ways. And it was done to me yesterday. I'm not going to go into it because it's not relevant for this particular conversation, but I was aware of it and I was like, damn, he got me.
I know. I know. And I do that too. And it's like, oh, you're a stinker. You did it this time, but not for long, not for long.
Right.
And it's good to be aware, and it's good for, our listeners and viewers to be aware as well. And so I'm glad that you shared that.
So let's see, where should we start? Because there's so much to cover. So let's go into the notes here, because you got some really concise notes. And okay, so one of the things that I added, right? So I said, we're going to discuss narcissism, how it's tied to the dark spirit realm of Satan and his minions, aka demons and psychic vampires.
Yes.
So what is a psychic vampire? Let's look it up here. All right, I'm going to put it in here on. And just so we give some context to this, psychic.
Absolutely. Now, I've always known, while you're looking it up, I've always known a psychic vampire to be someone that drains you, like literally sucks your living force, your energy, and we know people like that, and they keep coming back for more, because the more they drain you of your energy, I should say, their energy heightens.
Correct.
So that's how I've known it.
And that's what narcissists do too. They'll drain you.
Those are really good.
And I'm going to tell you a story about that. So let's read what psychic vampire is according to Wikipedia. A psychic vampire or energy vampire is a creature in folklore said to feed off the life force of other living creatures. The term can also be used to describe a person who gets increased energy around other people, but leave those other people exhausted or drained of energy. Psychic vampires are represented in the occult beliefs of various cultures and in fiction. The term is used to describe the substance of essence that psychic vampires take or receive from the others, include energy, life force, which is prana, and vitality. There is no scientific or medical evidence supporting the existence of the bodily or psychic energy the allegedly drain. Now, here's the story I want to share with you. Now, as you well know, I had a huge demonic attack last year from a multitude of people. 2 people in particular, but let's talk about the one I was in a relationship. And the reason why is because I was having sex with her. So I was sharing my essence with her, right? Which I should have never did. And the Most High gave me plenty of signs to not do that. But I fell victim to the lust.
Right.
To the lust of being a man, liking women, all that stuff. Yeah. Right? I'm a man. So I like women. So I got caught up. And one of the things that I realized too was after I broke up with her, she was spending like 2 weeks trying to get me to give her that life force again, to give her that validation and that energy to start, she's like, oh, you're going to give up on us and this and that. I didn't cheat on you. All this nonsense. And
she was good.
She was really good. Very well seasoned. She's in her early 40s. She's been doing this for a long time. So what was interesting that I noticed is that after I had broke up with her and she was trying to get me back, I remember the last time we spoke and we spoke for like a good 5 hours on a FaceTime while she's working, doing rounds as a nurse. She went into her office privately to speak with me. And one thing I noticed is that by me not giving her attention for 2 weeks, I could tell that her face was kind of like, almost like she aged. Like it was, her skin tissue wasn't as vibrant as when she's with me or was with me. And I was like, wow, she's looking kind of old.
Isn't that interesting?
Overnight, and I
she's
guess
getting consumed by the demon, right?
Right. Plus she had other supplies of energy. So she had other guys that she was sleeping with.
Yeah, but nothing as good as your energy though. Come on, let's face it.
That's true in the sense, and I'm not saying about me.
No, but a little bit I'm joking, but let's also there's a lot of seriousness in what I'm saying too, because look at the work that you do.
Well, the empathic energy. Yeah, because I did care about her.
And your energy is going to be super tasty, with someone like that. So let's get that straight.
But as an empath, you're right. it is super tasty in the sense that when somebody does care about you and truly loves you, and they're actually showing it to you, it's not just saying it. I was actually putting in the work.
Right.
And it is what it is. I'm just grateful that the Most High got me out of that. I told you about the dream where she said I was wrapped up in a ball of light or whatever. Yes. But going back to her, like, I noticed that she just, like, the cheeks, everything didn't seem like it used to be. And it's because they're not getting that energy directly from you no more. And you wake up now. So it's like now you're aware of the demon. You're aware of the demon in them, and you're not subscribing to their nonsense anymore.
Exactly. It's amazing. It's good awareness that you had too.
Yes.
Like, that's
and it's not me. It was the angels. It was the Most High. It was the protectors that was making sure that when the brothers read scriptures with me, after I realized that she was cheating on me, and I found out in probably one of the worst ways possible, and it was so good, Scarlet, that I wasn't present when I found out, because then that darkness would have consumed me, and I could have did something very ugly.
Right.
It could have went as far as murder. You know what I mean? Because when you lose your mind in that state of rage and you feel like you've been betrayed, you're capable of doing anything.
Right. Which is what Satan wants at the end of the day.
Yes.
That's what they want. Right. And you resisted that, thankfully. And someone was looking over you, thankfully, because it happened from afar as opposed to you being there, like you said. Right. Makes a big difference.
In your work, have you ever had to help, in the process of helping somebody purge that demon out of them? It's
okay to get it out of a narcissist. I can't save them. I do continue to try to do so. Like, I do strive for that because there is a soul, right? And that soul belongs to the Almighty God.
Right.
And so I just keep bringing awareness and keep speaking to that soul. More so, the work that I do is to take care of the people around them that have been inflicted and infected. As we go through today, we'll learn more and more that it's pretty much impossible to save a narcissist. One of the things that they do is deceive us, right? And so there's the part of the deception that the minions, that these little mini demons want, is for us to have the belief that as Christians, it is our responsibility to help them, to save them, to make their life better. And I'm going to say, no, it's not. It's our responsibility as good Christians to walk away, because that is a demon incarnate. Now, we can attempt, to talk to the soul. We can attempt to, but you keep it at arm's length. Or let me put it in a way that's a little more tangible, because I know narcissists, and for some people out there, this might be a bit of a bizarre, concept, because we love the narcissists in our life. How can it be? This is not possible, because we see glimpses of their goodness. So I'm going to make it a little more tangible. If we knew that living down the street, one of our neighbors was a serial killer, or, someone who was psychotic, or, someone crazy that would cause harm to us, would we go knocking on their door? The answer is no. Would we be bringing them lasagna because we're worried that they didn't eat? The answer is no. Would we be inviting them over for coffee? The answer is no. So why wouldn't we do that for someone who is blatantly, not well mentally and spiritually? Why would we do so? But the narcissist is the same thing. Yet we do that with the narcissist, right? And it's a perfect design by Satan. It really is perfect design, because it is specifically designed to captivate those that the devil wouldn't normally be able to get to. And that's why it's so important that we're talking about it today. You can pray for their soul. That's how you can save their life. Away from them, you can ask Jesus, to be there for them. You can ask Mother Mary, to take care of them. You are everyone's mother. Please be there for them. Help them find you, Jesus. Help them find you, dear Lord. That's what we can do. That is our responsibility as Christians. It is our big responsibility to walk away from a demon when we see it.
Right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is when the devil can get to you, he sends a narcissist.
You got it.
Why is it that Satan knows that he can get to you? What is it that we are doing that now he feels like it's an ample, great, wonderful opportunity for the devil or Satan to send this narcissist into our lives?
Right. Well, the goal of that particular demon is to confuse us, is to jam that communication, that receiving station, as we called it earlier, so that we are not receiving the whispers, from divine. Now, why is that? Because they're feeding off of our good nature to be in service. And so it is easy. Now, we noticed that there are 3 types of narcissists, right? There's covert, there's overt, and then there's the malignant. Now, I firmly believe that any narcissist that you encounter, you'll see all of those qualities. A covert is the most common, and they come across as helpless, or they need help. They're depressed or sad. They're victims, right? And so what do Christians do for victims? What do? We go to the rescue, which on the most part is the right thing to do. It's just when we recognize the minute that we start hearing voices that don't belong to us, confusion, that exhaustion that you were talking about from a vampire, like a psychic vampire. The minute that we start feeling these things is when we need to recognize, wait a second, this is not right. This is not the right thing for me to be doing. Because we all know that the good Lord doesn't make us exhausted like that. We all know that. Right. So that's a sign. The minute that we start feeling confused about any messages, or we stop hearing these wonderful whispers from our guardian angels, or we stop praying, or we stop having time for God, that's a red flag for us. That's a red flag. We have to pay close attention to that. It is designed to make us mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted so that we can be affected by these different minions, and then eventually, Satan stepping right in.
But you said, and by the way, there's other narcissists, but yes, those are the common ones. There's actually one called a communal narcissist. And
there's many, there's like 7.
Yeah, there's a communal, and I thought the communal narcissist is very interesting because the communal narcissist is very hard to detect, because they're the people that are in your organizations doing all the good work, looking for that validation to be recognized by other people, right. And it's very deceptive. The grandiose too. And you have a lot of, that's really the most common one besides covert, is the grandiose, because the grandiose narcissist is your typical narcissist that believes there's something they're not. They live in a world of delusion.
Yeah.
And they speak a lot in third person. Okay. But going back to some of these notes, this type of spirit comes to lie, steal, and destroy.
Correct.
I know this all too well, because the person that I was in a relationship with, she literally did those 3 things from the very beginning.
Right.
From the very beginning. And it was, and when I started thinking about it, it's like, why are you with me? Like, you're just with me to destroy me? I didn't really understand that concept. Like, why go through the motions of being with somebody just to destroy them?
Because they embody the devil. I'm sorry to say it like that.
No, they do. They do.
And I don't want to sound dramatic. Oh, they're the devil, but they embody the devil, and they do his work. And the devil has no remorse. Right. And the devil takes pride and takes pleasure in seeing people suffer.
Yes.
And so because these narcissists, I mean, think about it. A narcissist takes pleasure in actually seeing someone squirm, feel uncomfortable. They have no remorse. And when you try to walk away from a narcissist, they don't care. I'm sorry to say that. We want to believe that they care. Oh, they're going to miss me. No, they're not going to. And I don't mean to cause anybody any pain. It's just, I want to bring reality, and I really want to open people's eyes today, because we're the ones that might miss. We're the ones that are feeling the way that we were supposed to be feeling, because we were in that situation with an absolute genuine heart. They are not. Let's not forget, they are embodied by any one of the deadly sins at any given time. When I set out to do some notes just to organize, my thoughts for today's conversation, I was like, well, which one of the deadly sins? And then I'm researching and I'm looking and I'm thinking and I'm like, well, wait a second. It's all of them at any given time. They embody it and they just know how to perfectly use it and turn it off and turn it on and turn it off and turn it on when needed. But they embody all of those deadly sins. They're there to manipulate, period. They're there to cause harm, period. They are there to confuse you, because otherwise the minions, the little demonic minions, were not affecting you throughout life, but this one will stop you dead in your tracks if you allow it.
Absolutely. And it's like everything you're saying, I'm just going, like, my mind is racing back to last year and the whirlwind of deception that I was caught up in was, I'll be honest, you know what? Like, not only do they not miss you, one thing I will say is they will remember you, though. Especially if you are a man or a woman that is very empathic and has a strong amount of compassion, they're not going to forget that.
They don't.
But they don't care because they don't even love themselves. It comes from a deep sense of insecurity. And let me tell you something. Oh, man, I'm thinking about last year. And you know what was the biggest thing for me? Being the type of man that I am, what was the hardest thing to recover from? It wasn't that she cheated on me or that I was being lied to, that she was sowing discord against me with other people privately and telling them lies about me. It was the fact that I allowed it to happen. It's the fact that I didn't catch it when it was right there in front of my face and I allowed it to happen. I was so embarrassed with myself.
You shouldn't be.
Well, that's what people told me, that it wasn't my fault.
No, and you got to be gentle with yourself. And what you're saying, I am certain resonates with the listeners out there. And it resonates with me too, because not one of us has not been affected at one point in time or another by a narcissist. You have to be gentle with yourself. And the reason why I say that is because the whole name of their game is to distract us and to exhaust us, right? So that we no longer have the ability to connect with the good Lord, and we no longer see his purpose for our life. And that's what happened to you, Aura. You can't blame yourself. You absolutely can't.
You're right. And that's, because I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes, and that's what I had to learn. But it took a while for me to get over the fact that I let this person affect me in the manner in which they did. Because I wasn't heartbroken. I was more like embarrassed, in myself. That was what the hard part was. But, it was one of the greatest lessons I ever learned in my life. And what the Most High did for me in that was teach me that I lack in setting boundaries. So what did the Most High do? Give me a great understanding that I need to set boundaries with people. And the scriptures talks about how when developing faithful friendships or developing relationships, that the people have to be approved with time. And usually what that time takes is for things to be on the up and up, but also to be on the down.
Yeah.
and see how they operate when things are not going too well for you. See if they're even going to be around when things are not going well for you. Because those are the two true tests of friendships and relationships, is how are they going to treat you when we're going to talk about this, the roller coaster, when the roller coaster is going down and it's not going up, right? When our lives are, in turmoil, what is this person doing? And a lot of times what the narcissist does is they want your life to be in turmoil. They want, it's like, what the narcissist does? And this just analogy just came to me. I know this is a spiritual conversation here because the Most High is sending information to us right now. What a narcissist does, let's say you're on a ship. What they're doing is they're stumbling into you to push you off the ship and have you be casted into the water, helpless, and then they throw the life raft. They throw the preserver, the life preserver to you. And they're like, hey, I got you. Don't worry. I got you. Come on. But they're the ones that threw you in the water.
They're the ones that threw you in. And that's interesting because there's a couple of things that are interesting that you said that I want to kind of rewind and address. I love that analogy of they throw you in the water and then they send you that, the lifesaver to pull you back in. And so they give you this false sense of hope and hopelessness, right? Like they give you this sense of it. What ends up happening, a narcissist obviously starts out being one of God's souls, right? And the soul belongs to God. That never changes. And so how you were saying how that they will never forget you, and you're absolutely right. It is their soul that will never forget them, or that will never forget you or whoever it is that they've inflicted. And I always say this, in the stillness of the night, in the darkness of the night, in the stillness of their mind, they will have that clarity, because that from time to time, they will have that clarity with the good Lord, right? And they will understand.
Right.
Demons have selected them because they felt hopeless at one point in time or another, right? So the demon has given them this false sense. Does this sound familiar? This false sense of, hope, right? You're feeling hopeless. I'm your answer, right? And the only way to continue feeling that hope is if you do the demon's bidding, right? And so that's how they get pulled in. And so we're doing narcissism as part of these generational curses series, because a narcissist will have some root cause, some root curse there that is creating this hopelessness inside of them. And the demon will come in and start to take advantage of that. And then the next one will come in and the next one will come in, and so on and so forth. So you can see there's that similarity. It's the way that they're making you feel is the way that they themselves are feeling. And so that's why we are, in receipt of that kind of behavior.
Let's talk about why you wrote that. Okay, so demonic spirits drive narcissists, right? They work through these people that come from a deep sense of insecurity.
Yes.
What's the demonic goal? Narcissists are the demon's Trojan horse. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, let's talk about the Trojan horse, right? So the Trojan horse, I don't remember history that well, and I'm too old to remember that far. But the Trojan horse was sent in as a gift, right? Like as a peace offering.
Right.
And so this particular city opened its doors, let down its guard, its boundaries, right? Sound familiar, right?
Right.
And this beautiful gift drove in, and then they closed the doors, right? They closed their boundaries. Now we've let them in, and now this Trojan horse is inside this sacred circle of boundaries. And then when they opened up this horse, it was filled with, soldiers that took over the city. Okay. It's the exact same thing with us. So it comes in looking like a gift. So it comes in looking like a beautiful lover. It comes in looking like a mother, like a father, like a good friend, like a mentor at work. It comes in like this beautiful gift. And you feel so lucky that you have this beautiful gift.
Right.
Okay. And then once you feel so lucky that you have this beautiful gift, let the games begin. Out come the little soldiers, and they take you over one by one. They have you self-doubting, second-guessing yourself, consuming your thoughts. They make you feel crazy. And that is, that's the goal. Like, we got to remember, your mind is Satan's number one target. That's it. Because the easiest way for Satan to take over and possess us is to consume and take over the mind.
Right.
Once he's got that, he's got the rest of you. It's nice and easy. Satan can't go after your soul. As I mentioned before, the soul belongs to God. That is your core, who you are. But the body, Satan can take the body. And so it takes over the mind.
Wow. So true. So true. I hope people are taking notes that are listening to this, because this thing of narcissism and demonic attacks has been going on since the days of antiquity, and it's only intensifying in these days that we're living in right now, as it has been written and prophesied. So we've been warned, okay, through the scriptures, through the prophets, through the apostles, through many different people, and through the Most High, and through Christ. Now, the crazy part is this. What you were discussing about when they make you go crazy, where they're sucking this energy, one of the biggest, the most important technique and tactic in their arsenal, in their tool belt of deception and wickedness is gaslighting. Yeah. Gaslighting, for those that don't know, just to recap, because we've talked about it so many times here in the Network of Awareness, gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which the abuser attempts to sow self-doubt and confusion in their victim's mind. And typically, gaslighters are seeking to gain power and control over the other person by distorting reality and forcing them to question their own judgment and intuition.
Right.
So
here it is.
A narcissist don't like you, Scarlet, at all.
They don't like you either, my dear.
They don't like you because you're all about intuition.
Yes.
So
yes.
like you're somebody that they're like, we got to stop her because she's going to expose us for who we truly are.
Yeah. And it's terrible. I have had some experiences, with narcissists, and like you, as soon as I had that aha moment, it's like, oh my goodness, this person really doesn't give two hoots about me. I thought they genuinely cared. I thought they genuinely cared about my well-being. They don't. They are simply concerned about themselves. And I cannot believe how I allowed them to rob me of special moments, rob me of special moments with my family, my kids, myself, like my own self-care, my own self-kindness, because I remember being consumed with thoughts, and those thoughts then made me feel depressed and made me feel like I'm never going to be good enough. And then I ended up gaining weight. And now, now I look the part, like I don't look empowered. I am completely the opposite. It's insane. It's insane how they do that. And it really is a brilliant plan if you stop and think about it. But one thing I really want to say to people is if you have encountered a narcissist, and it's going to be someone close to you, it's going to be someone that cares for you, don't allow them to rob you anymore, because really that's what they're doing. They're robbing you. And really, let's put a stop to it today. Absolutely. And then when you have that awareness, it kind of makes me giggle, because now hindsight is 2020. So I still have these narcissists in my life. And now I just saw one on Saturday, and I was giggling at, oh, I see what you're doing there. Okay. Okay, no problem. Let me make you feel good for a moment, but I'm going to walk away. All right, you got it. You think you got me? Okay, no problem. Now I'm going to go and have fun. It's interesting. And another narcissist, again, they're all close. Another one, she's constantly doing these underhanded comments, that are really insulting. Like they really jab at your heart and your pride, right? And the essence of who you are. Right. And so I giggle at it. And the only way that I handle a narcissist is I go, oh, I'm confused. What do you mean by that? I don't understand. Can you explain to me what you mean? And then they're now left with the dirt that and it's back in their lap. If they tried to shoot out some dirt, it didn't stick. Now it's in their lap. Now they have to explain it. Now they have to deal with it. Right. So it's an interesting process when you are aware. We can't get rid of some people. Like some of these people are family members, and I'm not certainly saying, oh, now you have to just ignore them. I'm just saying, don't go poking, don't engage. Leave it rest, and have a little immature giggle with yourself and move on. Go say some prayers, ask the good Lord to take care of them, and hope that their soul will be strong enough one day that they'll be released, from these curses, really, because your average person does not become a narcissist. This is years and years of curses. This is years and years of demonic work.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And when you was talking about the Trojan Horse too, was something I forgot to mention when you said they come wrapped up in a pretty little gift. That's the love bombing stage.
Right. And
they do it so well, man. You would think these people are the best thing since sliced bread in your life.
Right. Because, like you talked about that lady. How lucky did you feel when you met her?
Very lucky. So lucky that I thought I was going to be with her for the rest of my life. Like I thought it was a blessing. I thought it was a blessing but that was the thing too. And I remember saying, I was like, I can't find anything wrong with you. There's something wrong with that. Because nothing's perfect. Right. We all come with some type of baggage. We all come with things that, and you know this, you're going to be in a relationship like you are, and there's going to be things you don't like about your partner. But it's going to be things that is not a deal breaker, but it's going to be things that, you just deal with, but there's things about you that your partner sees that they have to deal with. Because you're not perfect. And it was interesting because when you're dealing with these people, it's almost like there's nothing wrong with them because it's not them that you're dealing with. You're dealing with that representation of that demon that is basically deceiving you. And they're going to give, one thing with me too, what this woman did was she studied my podcast. So she took a social, emotional, and spiritual profile of the type of man that I am. Wow. And took that information and became exactly what I would want to desire in a woman. Ugh. To the T.
Isn't that crazy?
Just became that. Psychologically, she became that person. Right. Because one of the things I always used to say, I want a woman that's funny, that I could joke around with. And she did that. And that kind of let my guard down. Right. And it was so interesting because these people, one thing I notice about these types of people, and it's the demon in them, right? But you'll be surprised how far they go to destroy you, how far they go to gain your trust. They go to great lengths, and they will do anything that it's quite amazing, because if they was to put that energy into doing good, they would do some amazing things. Right. But they don't. They go to great lengths. I remember one time, and this was when the things already were exposed. And this woman was in a car. And I think she had somebody with her in the car the whole time. But she went as far as trying to make me believe that she worked at this other facility that she told me she worked at because of all the things that were going on. I was like, where are you? She's like, oh, I was at this other facility in this other city. She went as far as driving to the facility. And I was on FaceTime with her camera. And I was like, why are you not going in? She was like, oh, I'm just out here on a break or whatever. And I had her walk up, because I was very persistent. I was going crazy. I didn't want to think that I was going crazy. So I'm like, prove to me this, prove to me that. Right. Which was such a waste of time looking back on it, but she's actually walking up to this hospital. And it's closed, but she's like, no, there's a side entrance. And then she's like, my supervisor told me I could go home. And I was like, why did you mute your phone when this supposed supervisor was talking to you? oh, because I didn't want you to hear the conversation because this is a professional relationship. This is private information. I mean, just the shenanigans was insane that they go to great lengths. She even went to the hospital saying she got hurt on the job and went to the hospital to get checked out to prove to me that this was real. So while I'm on the phone with her, she's checking into the ER for some imaginary injuries that never happened.
Lord, that's insane. That is. But you're right. They go to these extreme cause because what they're attempting to do is lure you in.
Yes.
And when the demon is starting to lose, it gets louder. It gets louder and louder and louder because it appears to be smart. The only thing that it's good at is lying and deception. And, that's what it's good at. They're great at pride. They're very good at that, but that's it. But to keep up the shenanigans, you can only lie so much before you get caught, right? To keep it up, it becomes very hard. And the only thing they know how to do is to get louder. So that's why they do more. And they have to up the ante because they figure if they turn up the volume on it, they will get your soft spot. You'll feel sorry. Look, I'm in the emergency. Don't you feel sorry for me? It's a little bit, I feel for their souls. I really do. I feel for their souls,
I have pity for them.
I do too, and that's between them and I'm going to say their God. One thing you noticed that you mentioned was about how you looked up to her, like she was a blessing, like you looked up to her, right? There was nothing wrong with her. Now hear what you're saying, because there's only one energy that represents that, and that's the good Lord himself.
Let's give you a round of applause for that.
Yay. Thank you. But there's only one. And the demons want to be viewed and respected as a god. And so temporarily they're getting that. Oh, look how amazing. And if they don't, like one of the narcissists in my life, oh my goodness, and she's an old lady, like you would really hope that at this point, like she'd find Jesus, but anyways, I hope for her sake. Before she transitions, I hope for her sake. And so she's always talking about, because I don't give that to her. Like I don't make her to be like, she's the most amazing thing, because she's not, she's a human being. And she's always talking about how so-and-so thinks she's so great. And so-and-so loved when I made that dish, or I created that, I made that dress or whatever. And everybody just loved me for it. And even that, I look at her and I go, oh, I really pity you, because you are really consumed. You're really consumed. Now I got to make you laugh with something, because this person had to come to my home for Thanksgiving. This was, a while ago, not that long ago though. And I had just learned that if you do the Gregorian chant, if you have that, and you can get it, you can see it on YouTube. YouTube will have it. So it's the Gregorian chant. You want to use like the Catholic version, and it's in Latin. And apparently, if you put it on, demonic energy cannot be around when there's the Gregorian chant. It also doesn't like the rosary, right? It'll drive demons out. So I thought, I really want to test this out. Like, is this shit actually really good? I don't know. Does it work? I thought, what, I'm going to try. So I took my phone and I had it in the kitchen, right? Because I was obviously cooking and preparing food and serving. I was really enjoying company, like the company of everyone. I put my phone, I put the YouTube, I just put it on very, very quietly, right? And she's sitting at the table and she starts to fall asleep. I'm like, it works.
Wow.
It works. It shut that. So in other words, her life force without the demon is actually consumed. It's exhausted. And so she would fall.
Wow.
So I kind of giggle at it. At the same time, I'm super fascinated. I giggle at it because like, that was my aha moment, right? Like, does this actually work? You hear about it, you hear of these, these priests and pastors that do exorcisms, and they share some of their stories. And so, does it work? I'm like, let me play. And I couldn't believe how well it worked. I couldn't believe it. It was insane.
That's amazing. Speaking of demonic attacks and like Satan, and let me ask you a question, because this is something that has happened to me since I was young, and it happens from time to time. And I realized it not too long ago. I wake up sometimes when I wake up from sleep. I have, let me see if I have any. No, I'll have scratches here on my, across my chest. I'll actually have scratches.
Right.
And they're light. Sometimes they're a little thicker, and I'll have them on this side as well. Sometimes they'll be on my arm, across my chest, my clavicle bone and all that. Does that have to do with demonic attacks where they're trying to get at you?
That's a great question. So how do you know the difference between, is it one of your loved ones on the other side that's tugging at you, or is this the demonic attack? Demonic attacks will come in 3. So there will be 3 scratches. That's how you know that it's a demonic attack. You'll see telltale signs. So if it's a scratch, you'll see 3. There are, sometimes you'll get nudged. I've had situations. I remember one time I was getting ready to do a paranormal investigation, and I was just laying in bed, and I had like a rug burn just right in front of my eyes just appear, and it burned. It was so crazy. Those are not your loved ones. Like your loved ones might, tug on your hair, or you'll feel like a feather touch on the forehead. But a scratch will be 3. They will cause harm, like bruises. You'll see like that weird rug burn. You'll see those things. It's very, very different than a loved one reaching out to you.
It's funny you say that, because that rug burn on the eye, I just had that about last week that happened to me.
Crazy.
And I don't know if it was after I did a show with you or before. I can't remember.
Oh, they're going to get loud on us. They're going to get loud. They're going to poke at us. How do you protect yourself easily? Well, the Gregorian chant will work. Carrying medallions, wearing crosses. They don't like Jesus. They don't like the cross. They're very afraid of it. There is also a saint out there, Saint Benedict, who was he's the patron saint of getting rid of evil. And I actually wear him. I don't leave home without him. It's like, American Express. So never leave home without Saint Benedict or a cross. They don't like these things. So when you go to sleep, keep those things prominent and close by. There are also prayers that we can say to remove and to cleanse. And I believe you posted them previously. Right. The same prayers will go again for today. It's those are the same prayers for us to just remove these generational curses and these infections. I'm going to call them infections. I know it's not the right word, but infections from generational curses.
Well, like I shared that story with you before we did the broadcast, where I told you that, I don't know if we did it during the broadcast, but where I had some brothers from the BOCC contact me when I was going through this, and we started reading scriptures over the phone. And what was crazy about it is that I felt these presence of these dark spirits that she brought into my life.
Right.
And I think she was casting spells on me as well.
Oh,
because when I broke up with her, I think she hired somebody to try to get me back. Like these people that are on TikTok. And I think she hired this lady that also does readings and try to basically get me back into her life. Because some of them, they actually promote, I can get your ex back with you in less than 48 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think she was practicing this because when I was shaking in convulsions, it was like, when you shake when you're cold and it's like an extreme cold and you're shivering. That's what was happening to me. And I couldn't stop it. I was like, what's going on with me? I'm just like, and I'm like, I can't stop shaking like if I'm cold.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so we get on the phone and we start reading scriptures, and then it's like my body warmed up
Yes.
And whatever was surrounding me started fleeing when
Right.
we was reading the Bible.
Right. And we talk about that too. Like you'll see that more in paranormal investigations, right? Where they say, oh, there's a cold spot over here. And it gets cold because the entity is stealing energy from that energy force, right? So it could be something in the room. It could be you that they're taking energy from. And in your case, that is very much a psychic attack. Very much. That's just a very violent one. That's a very strong one.
It was very strong.
And really, I urge the viewers and listeners to never engage in any of that stuff. Never. Anyone that is going to promise you that they can change free will is not with God. They're not with God. There's, there are, I'm going to call them witch practitioners just for, pagans, Wiccans, whatever you want to call them, because they're really, at the end of the day, these are all labels. And they will practice self-empowerment, things that prayers and, things that you can do to yourself to heighten your energy. That is fine. When you are changing you, when you are doing whatever it is that it takes to make yourself closer to the Almighty Source, that is positive. That is positive. We cannot change free will. Anything where we're changing free will is now dabbling in the darkness.
Well said. So let's
Do I get the applause again?
Yeah, let's give you some round of applause.
I'm just kidding. Thank you.
See, I normally I would do that, but I'm so like
I'm only teasing.
My mind is very in tuned into this conversation because
I saw you too serious. We got to lighten this up a little.
Well, yeah, because this is such a serious matter. I think that's the thing, man. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of my listeners want me to keep talking about this, because not only is this we were just doing a show, brother and I, Brother Bond, about how narcissist, the word narcissist and gaslighting are some of the most searched words of 2022. Like the most searched word was narcissist, which goes to show you how much this wickedness is thriving in society these days. Because everybody's searching for it. Why? Because everybody's being attacked. This is just going all over the place.
This is it. There's a big movement, there's people like yourself who are spreading, the good news and spreading ways to live a soulful life. And so the demonic energy is going to get noisy and that's what's happening. Just to rewind a little bit, you mentioned that she got into, she turned to witchcraft, which is one of the common spirits that fuels narcissism. So I'm not surprised that she turned to that. If you think about it, she turned to all 8 of them. So what were the 8 ones? Witchcraft.
Let's go into them. Because that's the next thing. Let's do it one by one. Let's do them one by one. So we got the spirit of witchcraft, voodoo, dark arts.
Right.
So let's go into that real quick.
Right. So it just kind of, rewind what I just said about free will. The reason why, like, I don't want to talk about, if someone wants to label themselves a witch and is doing good work, I'm not going to put them in the same category as someone who's engaging in witchcraft and spell work that is manipulating someone's free will. That is not good. Right. That's not God's work, right? Voodoo, same thing. It's manipulating. Dark arts, it's manipulating. And it's manipulating for what? It's manipulating for someone's want and desire. Like Satan is the prince of pride, right? And Satan is very entitled, which is it's actually the second common spirit that narcissists encompass. But let's think about Satan himself. He is the prince of pride. He's the prince of envy. So he's very entitled. He thinks I can take whatever belongs to me. So, but you don't see Jesus or the good Lord or anything that is holy saying it's mine. You see quite the opposite. It's humble. And if it's God's will for me to have it, it's God's will for me to have it. But if it's God's will for me not to have it, then I accept that. It's a very different perspective and a different way of conducting yourself in life, right? One where you're honoring free will and the other one where you're manipulating free will, right? And so, of course, witchcraft, voodoo, dark arts, yeah, that is one of the things that fuels, it's one of the spirits that fuel a narcissist.
So the other one, you went into the spirit of pride already. So the spirit of envy.
Yes. Yeah, that's a biggie, because that's pride. That's where, I can covet someone else or something else. I'm entitled to that, and envy and pride and coveting, is taking, maybe taking a spouse that doesn't belong to you, taking money that doesn't belong to you, taking someone's self-worth, things like that. Pride and envy, that is another thing that really fuels, a narcissist, and really is the essence of who Satan is, period. So I'm not surprised that a narcissist would have that, because they really are pretty close to being the devil himself.
Right. Satan is I was just talking about it yesterday or the day before. Satan is the preeminence of evil and darkness.
Indeed.
He's Christ is the preeminence of righteousness,
right,
and everything that is pure and good.
Right.
And Satan is just the reciprocal. It's quite the opposite. Right. That's why he loves to do everything upside down. That's what transgenderism is all about. You know what I mean? It's a perversion that it's like taking something that is pure, like a boy or a girl, and saying, "Hey, you're not a boy. We're going to turn you into a girl, and we're going to cut your genitals off, and we're going to poke a hole in you."
My heart. It breaks my heart. It really does.
We're going to give you puberty blockers, right? We're going to block. And it's called puberty blockers. Anything that's blocking something is not good, right?
No, it breaks my heart. Which leads to the next spirit of narcissism, which is spirit of confusion, right? So
yes. Let's talk about it.
There's a lot of confusion around that. Maybe they were born with, certain biological traits, or maybe they had an emotional trauma. If someone is making, a choice and they're doing it quietly or whatever, okay, I understand. But I feel so badly for those that are actually, I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this tongue in cheek, injured, that are not getting the attention. Like you had said in last week's episode, where they're removing prayers from school. Here they're removing, perhaps the care, the therapy, someone to talk to. Because often when you talk to some of these people, they suffer deeply from an emotional traumatic experience like rape, gang rape.
Right.
It's so nobody's helping heal that wound. And then they're doing the best they know how to survive, something like that. So I just think that becomes part of the spirit of confusion. You can see where, narcissism really bleeds into so many aspects of life. And this is why it's so easy for them to infiltrate. There's the Trojan horse. It's just easy to infiltrate. It's crazy.
And the next one, besides the spirit of confusion, and is the spirit of condemnation and criticism. This one is huge because, like you said, that one narcissist that throws the little jabs at you and makes these underhanded comments.
Which once upon a time really bothered me. Like I would be left crying, or I would be left, saying, why doesn't she like me? Like, I really want her to like me. It was important for me because I love family, and family is important to me. And now I start saying to people like her, this is my expectation of my family. And it's for all of us to come here, be present in a positive manner where we're loving and supporting each other, trusting each other. We're not doing. And so in order for you to come and be part of my family, you need to encompass those values. And if you don't, then you stay on the outside of the circle. Oh my gosh, now I sound like, what was that? what was that movie with you're in my circle or you're out of my circle? Well, that's kind
of Meet the Parents with Robert De Niro. He's like, you're in the circle of trust.
You're in the circle of trust. And there it is, right? So it kind of reminds me of that. But all kidding aside, that's how it should be. We should be protecting our soul. We should be protecting our very being with all we've got, our wellness with all we've got. This is a temple. We have been given a biochemical machine by the dear Lord, right? He gave us Jesus to show us just how carnal we are. So we have those lessons, and now we're going to disrespect it. No, we need to protect it like it's one of our children. That's what we need to do. And so if this narcissist wants to be part of my life, then she has to behave a certain way. Otherwise, she needs to go.
No, like you said, we need to protect it. Like we protect our children. We need to protect that righteousness that we've been given an opportunity to have within us and to live out in this physical, temporarily, and you're right. The Messiah, Christ just gave us the example of what that is and how to work against that, right?
It's so true. It's so true. And so condemnation or criticism, it is such an easy way, because those of us that are being of service are doing it out of love, out of genuine care. We are we're inviting them into, a trusted space. We're inviting them into our space, right? And so the people that are criticizing, that are doing this black magic, that are, feeling entitled to take things from us, that are creating this confusion, they're easily infecting us and bringing us down with criticism, and they're making themselves look better. In other words, this person is so much better than me. They're so much better. And they're not. They're not.
Right.
You're perfect. You were born perfect because that's how God made you.
And this one is a powerful one that you wrote here. The spirit of control, often through sex.
Right.
Now, before you get into this, let me tell you a little bit about my story with the previous woman that I was with, right? So one thing that was the saving grace for me in a lot of this when it came to sex was that I didn't really have this usual sexual connection with this woman that I would normally have with a woman.
Interesting.
Where the sex is pretty great or good or whatever. And one of the biggest problems was the fact that when she kissed me, it was like kissing a lizard.
Oh, I was waiting for it.
Yeah, it was like kissing a lizard. And it was such a disconnect that I was almost like dumbfounded. Like, I was kind of like, what is happening right now?
Wow.
Like, this is how this person really kissed. And I felt bad for her because I'm like, there was a couple things that came across my mind. I'm like, this woman hasn't had a real, true, genuine emotional connection with a man to actually have a man kiss her in a sensual manner.
Wow.
Because kissing is very important, not just about sex, but kissing is a spiritual thing. Connection. And it can be a very wonderful experience.
Yes.
I remember with this woman I was in a relationship for a long time. I remember kissing her and I felt like I went into like cloud 9. I felt like I went to a whole nother dimension with the kiss, but not with this one. This one was just like, what's going on right now? It's sloppy. It's disgusting. Yes. And then of course, looking back on it, one of the reasons why the sexual chemistry wasn't there for me, especially, is because she was sharing herself with other men. No. And my spirit wasn't connecting with that whatsoever.
No. It's often, it's a demonic entity called a succubus. That's the female. The male version is incubus, right? And it's interesting that you said that you felt like you were kissing a lizard, because they're often depicted to have like a weird tongue, like a forked tongue, either like a snake or like a lizard. And they're chewing your energy. They're taking it. And that I am so amazed that you had that awareness, Aura. Like, that is really impressive. And I hate that you had that experience. I really do. And at the same time, there's a part of me that's grateful because you're sharing this with such articulation that others are going to learn, because one easy way for them to get us is through lust, right? And that's one of the deadly sins. Right. You know, there's different ways. Like, you know, there's the, there's lying, of course, as the deadly sin for controlling. Controlling can also be like gluttony. You know, the narcissist in our household. Like, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I've lost like about 100 pounds. And
wow, and congratulations! When did you lose 100 pounds?
Oh my gosh. I don't need an applause for that one, but thank you. I do appreciate it. It took me a couple of years, but I started to recognize that I was not honoring and taking care of this temple. Right. And so I made that shift, and I made the shift to also, honor and enjoy taking care of my health. I also recognized that what I was dealing with was a generational curse. Mm. And so once I started to recognize it and remove it, the rest just fell into place very naturally. Except this lady didn't like that. And she knew that if she kept me overweight, that would be a way of controlling the situation, right? Because if I was overweight, certain people wouldn't like me. And that was how she would oust me out of her situation, right? So it was like interesting. And so what did she do? She would make all kinds of food, and she kept sending me food. And oddly enough, like you talk about the food being lizard, she would bring this like food and she would tell me that it's healthy. But yet, anytime I tried to cook it, my hubby would be like, I don't like this. What's wrong with this food? And it was like, well, so-and-so made it. And he's like, I never want to eat it, throw their stuff out. I never want to have it ever again. When you eat food, it feels so good. Like, it's just so nourishing, right? When you bite into a beautiful, juicy watermelon, like, it just feels so good because it nourishes your every being, like your every part of you. But when you ate her food, it was like the essence of who you are is being sucked out of you. And I thought, that is so weird. So anytime, we get any food from her, I just throw it out. And in some cases, I might just even pray over it if I'm not able to throw it out, and change the energy attached, almost do a bit of a mini exorcism on the food in the situation. But control, they do try to control you. Sex is the easiest. Let's be realistic. Right. And you do see it. We're seeing a lot of adultery. We're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of toxic relationships. We're seeing a lot of that, and today people don't even know how to have a healthy relationship anymore. It's become such a far-fetched idea because society is not teaching us, to be that nuclear family anymore. So we go searching, looking for ways to connect and create family. And there goes that Trojan horse again, right? So sex is an easy one. It's an easy one. It ruins lives very, very quickly and easily. It's very sad.
Now we got the next one is the spirit of deception and lying, which, we've been talking about that throughout the whole show, that's what Satan is. He's the master deceiver.
Yeah. And he gets louder. It's no different than you shared beautifully about how she said that, she was, her supervisor called her, and then, she has to go to this facility, and the facility is locked, and, but there's a side door. But now she's an emergency. There's the lies on top of lies, and the lies just have to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because if they're not able to suck in the fact that you are, speaking to them being a victim or whatever the lie is, they're losing the ability to take over. They got to get loud. So the lies get bigger and worse, and it's crazy. And it has us second guessing. Do you ever find this that, you have a friendship or something, or even this relationship, and the first time you recognized, oh my goodness, she's lied to me. then that opens everything up. And you really start second guessing every single solitary interaction you've had, every single solitary conversation you had. What was true? What is not true? Wow, what a great way to shut down communication with the good Lord and changing our focus from his purpose. Like what an incredible way of doing it. Lying is a terrible thing. Terrible.
Absolutely. And we took care. We already went into pride because we did
really
that
did.
second. But how about the spirit of fear, which is the last one?
Oh, isn't that an interesting one? Like that, I left that last on purpose because that's one of the things that I really genuinely work on is fear and exposing the fear, and how brilliant, of any demonic energy to attach itself to it, because fear is actually a God-given survival emotion, right? So if I were to say to you, you know what, Aura, I feel like running across this busy highway that's about 6 lanes. There's like a ton of traffic speeding 100 kilometers, 120 kilometers. I think you guys though are on miles, right? So it's like 60, 80 miles.
Right.
That's pretty fast. So my body's going to kick in with fear. It's going to say, no, don't do that because there's a good chance you're not going to survive, right? Or if you and I are taking a walk, on one of the nature paths up here, there's a good chance that we'll encounter a black bear. And so, but they're so cute though, Aura, I'm going to go hug one, right? But fear is going to stop me from doing that. And that is a God-given, emotion and reaction to something that could potentially cause me harm. But you see, demons love fear because if they can keep us afraid, they keep us very, very distracted. And most of all, they stop us from being the shining, radiant light that we were born to be, right? And I'm going to repeat myself over and over. Imagine this world filled with people who are filled with light and they are sure-footed and confident. What would this world look like? Pretty beautiful.
And yeah, very quickly too.
Right. And so demons can't have that. And so fear is one of the eating things that they do. I call it eating. And a narcissist will play on your fears. So if it's a mom, it's fear of rejection. If it's a mentor at work, it's fear of not making enough money for your family, right? It's crazy. If it's a loved one, or when I say loved one, like a lover, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, it's fear of not being loved. It's fear of being alone, right? Fear is a nasty thing, and a narcissist will play with it like it's a toy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they feed off of it too. They like to eat. They like to eat off of fear.
Absolutely. How about so this is the final thing here is what do you do if you encounter a narcissist or have a narcissist in your close circle? What do you do?
Right. What do? You seek professional help because you do need a good therapist that you can talk to heal some of the damage that they have caused. The other thing too is prayer.
Yes.
Prayer for healing, prayer for forgiveness, because sometimes we engage in one of the deadly sins because the narcissist made it so enticing, right? We don't mean to, we don't do it on purpose, but we do, so pray for forgiveness. And I would continue to do the prayers until you feel healed. The last thing that you do is keep them at arm's length or get rid of them altogether. Like just cut them off. I recognize that it's difficult to do, like if the narcissist is at work and you're working and you love what you do and you're good at what you do, right? You can't go, I'm going to stop going to work. You just keep them arm's length, right? Or sometimes it's a parent. And what do? You cut them off? Well, you can't cut off family, but you just keep them at arm's length. You take the space that you need and not feel guilty about that.
Wow. So we're going to be wrapping it up soon because we're closing in on 90 minutes.
Wow.
And I could go longer. Like I could do this like, remember I told you we could do like 3-hour shows, you and I.
I know. No,
the only thing is that I don't want to do that. I want to keep it to where we do these series and we keep it, because even 90 minutes is long, but I think that we get a lot of information within 90 minutes and we cut it off there and go on to the next one, right?
Agreed.
So we're 120 right now. So let me ask you this. Everything we covered about these Narcadians, I call them.
I like that. I saw that.
The Narcadians. Like, we just exposed a lot of Narcadians. They're a tribe.
We really did.
They're part of Satan's tribe, just like a lot of celebrities are too. A lot of celebrities are part of Satan's tribe because they're there to deceive. So this tribe of Satan, these Narcadians, which is these people, right? Mm-hmm. What is some of the last things you can, leave the listeners with in regards to this whole topic of discussion about Narcadians, the demons of narcissism?
Mm-hmm. One thing, I want to leave everybody with is be very, very protective of the energy you invite in your space. That's what I want to. We talk a lot about, be careful with be mindful of the energy you bring into this space, right? Like, we're always that sense of responsibility to be, a do-gooder and be Christian and, be of service and compassion and so on, right? And while that is extremely important, I don't want to stop that. I just want to add, be very, very mindful and protective of the energy that you invite into your space, and protect yourself with all you've got. Protect it like it is your child. This is very important. We are a gift from God. Do not disrespect it. Anything else? That's it I've got. How about you? Do you have any parting words? Yes. Before I play the outro music, I just want to say that I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your gifts. And the one thing I will say for the listeners too is that this is something you have to constantly be aware of all the time. You got to damn near be spiritually paranoid about these types of people because they're all around us. These demons are all around us. So they're working through these people. Yeah. So what I would say to those that are listening is be very, very aware. And that when you do encounter these people, be prepared to deal with them, like Scarlet mentioned, prayer, seek professional counseling. Also, one of the things I want to mention too before I forget, another good way to deal with these people is to have the Most High in Christ in your life present all times. Mm-hmm. Seek the Most High in Christ. Seek Christ. Like this is what we talk about in the church. It's like you should be seeking that all the time. Mm-hmm. All the time. Because if you're seeking that, go ahead. I'm wishing that there's a mic drop sound because that was just a mic drop. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt it. No, there is a mic drop sound, but we'll settle for this particular sound. You need an applause now.
This is a distortion sound.
There, I love it.
But because if not, this is what you'll be doing. You'll be screaming for dear life.
Indeed.
Out of pure fear and anxiety and all these other low-level vibrations to lose your mind from these people because that's what they're there to do. I didn't get to tell you this, but maybe I don't think I did, but I had an ex-friend. I've been sharing this story recently. He's a big-time narc. I cut him out of my life in 2019. And I guess because now that I started my a Facebook account all over again, which I wasn't too thrilled about, but I'm glad I did because it is what it is. Promotional purposes for the podcast. But this individual, this brother, or at least I thought he was my brother, of 23 and a half year friendship, when I cut him off, it was one of the best decisions I made. So he sends me an email last week, and it's called Reconciliation. And it was like 13 paragraph email of thinking like, because he texted me, he's like, hey,
Yikes.
Is this Reggie? I was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, yeah, it's so-and-so. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Oh, I want to send you something. So I'm like, well, why don't you just call me? I'll be available as such as, no, I'm just going to send it to you in an email because it's a lot. Well, what is it about? Well, it's about the anniversary that's coming up and also about us. So I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to get in some information. And it's a email titled Reconciliation. And he's just basically telling me throughout the email, like, he's demonizing me in the whole entire email. But the email is also like, you wouldn't be the man that you are today if it wasn't for me being in your life. And it was so insane, the things he was saying about me, that I read it with my friends that used to be friends with him. Like we all kind of cut him off. And they was like, yo, he's hurting. They was like, that's that demon in him, like.
I was going to say, okay, so how many can we check off here? Okay. Spirit of, okay. Witchcraft, voodoo, not really. Okay. Spirit of envy, check. Spirit of confusion, check. Spirit of condemnation, check. Big check. Spirit of control, big check.
Oh, speaking of spirit of control, real quick, there's something called triangulation in narcissism. Triangulation is where they pinned people against you. And I dealt with a narc like that I used to follow his podcast for years. And he actually triangulated a whole bunch of people that used to, or at least I thought they respected me, to tribally gaslight me. And he was he along with her, because that's where I met her. I met her on his platform. So he, along with her, got it to where I got tribally gaslighted by a bunch of people that it got so bad that they were telling me, these demons in them were telling me to kill myself.
Right.
And I was just like, first of all, I would never kill myself. Okay. That's first of all. But I was just like, really? Like, this is that serious that y'all going to tell me to kill myself? That I'm going to want to kill myself? It was like, get out of here. But it just goes to show what those demons wanted. Like, they really wanted me to believe to kill myself. Just like when he sent me this email about calling reconciliation, he wanted me to apologize to him for not appreciating him making me the man that I laugh about it because it's like him making me the man that I am. When the whole entire friendship, I took care of him so much so that I had to claim him on my taxes one year as a dependent.
Right. I remember you told me that actually. That's
insane.
Crazy. It's
insane.
Spirit of control. Check.
Yes. So this is what he did. He sent that very response that I gave him. That wasn't really bad or anything. I was just like, bro, like, are you going through a midlife crisis? That has nothing to do with me. That's you. We're not friends no more. Like, I'm not apologizing for anything. Like, do you? Like, just leave me alone. Like, stop this madness because we're in our 40s and you're still doing this nonsense. He sent that response to my other friend and he was like, my friend says, yo, you're a prophet. I said, why? He said, because everything you said he was going to do, he did it. He sent me the email last night. We're having this conversation in the morning. He's like, I said, what did he show you in the email? He said, he just showed me what you wrote. And he's saying, you see, this is why I wrote him the email because he's typical. You know, he called me by my government name. He's like, this is how he is. And he was like, I sent you this email to test to see if you're still the same person. And I was just like, oh man, like,
wow.
It's like I feel bad for him, but at the same time, I told him, I was like, you're just a little prick. I was like, that's all you are. You're just a little piece of caca that hasn't grown up.
He's a demon. He's a demon.
He's got demons on him. And I told him that. I said, I'm going to pray for you, bro. I'm going to pray for you because you got demons on you.
And when I say he's a demon, I don't want people to misunderstand. I want people, though, to start envisioning people like him as a demon. No different than that's a demon. I understand that there's a soul in there. You know, I comprehend that. But right now, he's so consumed that it's not the soul speaking, it's the demon.
It's the demon speaking. Right.
You got it. People really need to see that visual. Well, this is not the soul that I'm talking to. This is the demon. This is a demon. And that's why I'm saying it. I'm being a bit of a drama queen about it, you know?
And let me share the cover for this episode that has your name on it, okay? So you can see how it looks. This is the cover for our episode, okay?
Wow.
This right here. The Narcissism Series with the demon. This is the demon. The Narcadian, right? This is the Narcadian. So I figured I just wanted to show you that because I put this artwork together real quick, and it's like
I like that because you know what? It's a human, obviously,
right? With
the horns, with the devil horns. It's in disguise. It's a human being, and that's exactly what that you really, really captivated it perfectly.
So. Wow. I just wanted to share that. That's my final words. Let people know, like, hey, you said it best. There's ways to cut them off, keep them at arm's length, deal with them like they need to be dealt with. Do not let them compromise you emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, whatever it is. Don't ever let them compromise you. No. Don't ever let them guilt trip you neither. Because they're really good at that.
Exactly.
They're really good at trying to control situations.
And we have to add what you said. Be so aware all the time and fill yourself with the light and love of Christ.
Right.
That you will never be shaken.
Exactly. Because when you seek in Christ and you got Christ in you and you're operating in that manner and behavior and you're being Christ-like, what's going to happen is like exactly what happened in Matthew. I believe in chapter 8, when these demons that were consuming, and running ragged, when Christ showed up, they bowed down. They're like, they couldn't do nothing. They can't do nothing in the presence of the preeminence of righteousness.
You got it.
They don't have no power. All that power and strength that they have, it goes right away. And then Christ purged them. In Matthew 8, he purged one of the demons to where the demons got into the pigs and the pigs all ran into the sea and drowned, right?
I remember that.
So all praises to the Most High in Christ. So that's all I have to say about that, So with that being said, I want to say thank you again and stick around because you and I are going to have a conversation after this.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Like I said, this series with you, you said, "Oh, Aura, how many shows are we in?" I was like, I don't know. Like we might do 100 shows, because this narcissism thing is real.
There is so much to talk about. It really is. So much to expose. Yeah. So I'm here for the journey.
You have like a seat at the Network of Awareness table now.
I am honored. I am genuinely honored, and to be part of your circle, I am deeply honored. And thank you so much for the invite.
Not a problem. So let me play some of this theme music here. Let's see here. All right. So brothers and sisters, we're going to end the broadcast here. I just want to say that definitely this is an episode that you should play multiple times. Share with your friends, your families. Even share it with the narcissist as a test to see how they respond to this information. If you really want to see if you're dealing with somebody that might be a narcissist in your life, play this episode for them. Say, hey, take a listen to this, right? Because you could play it on Apple, Spotify, Spreaker. I mean, there's a billion podcasts. Pandora that we're on. We're on iHeartRadio, YouTube, whatever. Play it for them. See how they respond to the information. See if they're going to fall asleep while listening to it. See if they're going to get angry, because those are your telltale signs that you're dealing with a narc. So when you live in the present, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning, and let that new beginning be the Most High in Christ, especially when it comes to this protection against these demons, these Narcadians. And last but not least, don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is and always will be within you. So light up the tunnel and find your way through the darkness. This is Or the Informationalist with my guest co-host Scarlet, saying peace, love, and light, and all praises to the Most High in Christ. Shalom.